Dear venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, today also we are going to have another question and answer session. So we'll invite Dulip to present written questions, meanwhile reminding the invitation so that anyone who wish to present any question to the session are already welcome.
Bhante, with your permission, the first question is, Dear Bhante, during my last retreat under your guidance in Perth, I was using the method of observing the in-breath and out-breath through nostrils during sitting. There was a session of sitting whereby I saw in front of me was lit up like a room in the dark suddenly was lit up with light. This occurred after I had fought with sleepiness during the sitting for some time. I had no chance to ask you a question because it was the last sitting that time. Yesterday I was using the rising and falling of abdomen method during sitting. There was no sleepiness this time. I saw the scene again, as if the space in front of me was lit up brightly. When I put in more effort to observe the scene, wandering mind slipped in. The illumination of the space became dimmer. When wandering mind failed to form a complete stories, the space in front of me became brighter. These scenarios occurred several times. To make sure that it was actually no one in the meditation hall who had switched on the light and doubted I might be an illusion, I opened my eyes to look around. There were no lights in the hall, and I had sat for 20 minutes. Kindly provide further instructions and words of caution to me.
This essay itself indicates face-to-face with this particular event at least 4 or 5 times. That means time and again that particular person is be with light, and this is the way we are familiarizing it. And at the beginning it is a lot of doubts to be entertained whether it's a mind game or it is a reality. Whatever may be, whenever you are reaching it or going into again and again, your own confidence increases. Of course, this kind of a thing we can say it is a gift or it's a blessing for the meditation to be encouraged. And instead there may be some events, you develop kind of a fearful thing, darkness, lost, all the kind of thing. So this appear good one, light and the brightness, whatever it may be, you have to understand this is just a simple trick to make you eccentric. Only thing you have to do is, amidst of light or into darkness, try to maintain the relationship with the primary object further and further, and ultimately keeping the relationship continuously, immediately, whatever the phenomena will come into confirmation without doubt. So therefore, when and where the light arises or any other sign arises, try to keep the track with the primary object as much as possible, and then you may understand this effort is known as seeing through the light, seeing through the distraction, and then observation of the primary object seen through them will add some kind of a experience, kind of the hardness in the mindfulness, and brightness or whatever may be refined further and further. So therefore, the simple precaution is be prepared, go prepared. Whenever the object and the noting mind get aligned, these things are going to happen. Whenever it happens, don't try to get excited, but be prepared and not to give up the primary object. Even little later, you have to develop the relationship again with the primary object through the light or whatever may be arising, and ultimately you will understand due to your correct effort and preparedness, the continuation of the light also will happen. You may see some more additional facets of the primary object too. So therefore, next time, go prepared, and then you will find more familiar, more homely, more seasoned towards that. And it's a general fact for a meditator to happen this kind of thing. Often it happens in a residential retreats, because you are repetitively apply the mind in the same way, same place, and the same posture. That means all the other variables are fixed. Then only mind can proceed along this particular channel. And to facilitate it, it says, don't let the other variables change. Don't change your timetable. Don't change your feeding habit. Don't change your bathing habit, sleeping habit. Everything must be fixed. And more you apply the mind in the regular manner, more chances are there for this alignment to happen. And on top of that, you go prepared and try to see through. This is how the maturity happen. So this is a good omen, or good, we can say, gift, if you are skillfully handle it.
Gauravaniya Swami Mahansa, when I am noticing in-breath and out-breath at the point of nostril, I feel this air flow through the upper part of body from nostril to abdomen, but my mind at the nostril. Some other time I feel the air movement just outside area of the nose. Another sitting, observe the in-breath, out-breath, meanwhile thoughts arising and going. While continuing as such, jerking happened in finger or hand. Sometimes irritation happens in face, foot, etc. If I am unable to bear it and continuing out-breath and in-breath, then it is success. But if I couldn't and pay attention on it, then the flow of in and out-breath is lost with metta.
For my understanding, the last one and this statement, both of them have some parallelism. That is to say, if you take the in-breath and out-breath, or rising and falling, whatever it may be, your family object, your primary object, when it is practice, when and where your experience accumulates, the different facets of the primary object bound to arise. Sometimes it is becoming closer and closer and closer. Sometimes it appears like further away. Sometimes it appears like an internal phenomena. Sometimes it appears like an external phenomena. Sometimes it appears very desirable way. Sometimes very boring, very monotonous. No any thrills and frills. Sometimes it appears very gross. Sometimes very subtle. And sometimes you see appearing phenomena. Sometimes you see disappearing phenomena. Sometimes you can see phenomena under your very nose. When such a thing, different facets to come, always primary object has to fight with secondary object. Then only different facets are coming more frequently. But immature yogis with lack of theoretical understanding and unpreparedness, they consider these different facets also, they have their own premeditated idea. This facet is good and this is bad kind of. This is not what the Buddha meant. It is all the facets are equally important. In order to have different facets to come, the primary object has to compare it with other secondary objects. Then only situation will become very dramatic, very eventful. Episodes will be fast changing. And there what happens is your mindfulness continues, but the concentration, the one-pointedness appear like shaking. So therefore, if you are a person have oriented more towards a concentration, you may complain, you may dishearten, you may develop irritation telling that my concentration is disturbed. But if your viewpoint, the outlook is from the mindfulness, then you can understand, earlier I see the primary object all alone as such, now I can compare it with coming in and going out, internalization and furthering, desirable and undesirable, sometimes fighting with thoughts, sometimes fighting with sounds, pain, lights. So whatever it happens, if you know how to maintain the thread of mindfulness, these are events where the mindfulness branching out, diversifying. So how to facilitate it, how to give conducive conditions. No one can have a technical writing. You have to do trial and error. Therefore, keep the mindfulness as the main thing and let it grow. It never grow unless otherwise it is challenged by other objects. Each and every challenge is a new opportunity for you to see different facets of the same primary object. More and more facets you see, your mindfulness becomes very rich. It's very eventful, very dramatic, and that is how the energy aspect of your mind, mobilization happens. Otherwise you become lethargic, you'll be same in the same episode, no progress. So this indicates whenever your mind is preparing for this insight, it's very eventful, very dramatic. Episode by episode it is fast changing, but if the yogi's inclination is more for concentration, it appears like a distraction. It appears like a disturbance, but it is not the case from the mindfulness point of view. So therefore both of them are indicating the progress of the mind. But my all talking here is how to facilitate it, how to give conducive conditions. So please be sympathetic. Everyone has to assimilate their own methods. Assimilation happens through trial and error. Nothing doing permanent damage. So they are try to be an adolescence to take it up and play it with. And if it is wrong, ready to be accepted. And if it is good, you can understand, you can gain the equilibrium even while you are in a tightrope walking, not in the solid ground. So this is how mindfulness gather the momentum. So therefore be skillful, be sporty, that's a word, be sporty. And expect some electric things to happen and face it completely fresh, completely as a beginner's mind. Simply please don't expect there is a golden formula for that. No such a fixed formula. You have to assimilate and you must be radical and sporty. And both of them appear somewhat sportiness is there. So it is my duty is to promote it.
This one is not out of my experience, but out of thirst for the knowledge. So I want to ask one question. Some people have reported that the primary object, for example, the breathe in and breathe out, or the abdomen, change, become what they call as a nimitta. For example, becoming cloud. And in that case, if the primary object change to become such kind of nimitta, what should be done in that case?
Can you define the nimitta?
A cloud, change into cloud, for example.
So that is also possible when you are observing the primary object. As a beginner, everyone expects a solid, auspicious, pleasurable pith or core must be there in the primary object. That is how you develop the trust upon the primary object. But when you are observing more and more, it is the agglomerated thing dismantling taking place slowly. So that means it is becoming analytical and it become separated into particles. So while it is happening, your attitudes to the primary object is become uncertain, fearful. You have to be prepared with the novelty. So therefore you have to see it. If it is happening intentionally, you are completely wrong. You get completely cut off marks. But if it is something happening, if you are a neutral observer, you get 100 marks, whatever it may be. So this is the challenge to the permanent notion. This is the challenge to the permanent perception. We expect primary object to be very concrete with the shape, specific gravity, shape, manner and all the kind of thing. And we think any change into that appear like a threat to my ego, threat to my conceit, threat to my love to the primary object, and each time you become disheartened. That is why the Buddha in this Girimananda Sutta, first and foremost you have to develop the impermanent notion or perception. Then only you will be ready to see things as they are. Otherwise you have preconceived idea, object must be solid, there are specific gravity, shape, manner, colors must be fixed like. So this is evolving. Sometimes it appears like a beehive, sometimes it appears like individual bees go on different places and you can't see the hive. And nothing wrong because bees are at work now. Likewise, that agglomeration happen and again dismantling happen. So all these are valid facets. If you are a radical, if you have a radical reflection, if you have enough experience, if you go prepared with, and unexpected modes, shapes, colors, manners can happen. So this is the way meditation become very dynamic. It become very eventful, changing episode by episode. That means that indicate the energy aspect of your meditation. More and more you apply energy, object become more volatile. Object solid become liquid and ultimately liquid become volatile. So each time object become melted, your ego also melting. Each time object become volatile, your ego also become volatile. And your pride, your conceit also volatile. Your desire, any relationship you can keep with the object also threatened. Now it is just a volatile, gaseous. So each time internally you develop kind of a reaction because of your egotistic calculations, because of your conceit, because of your desire. So this is the way the mind as well as the object is evolving. So you have to just withdraw back and to assume the duty of a neutral observer, then the interpreter, then the drawing the inferences. These are the blockages. We must try our best, but by simple wish you can't do it. Only thing is be prepared. Only thing is be ready for anything to happen. And doubts will never arise if the mindfulness is continuous. If the mindfulness is steadfast, nothing to entertain doubts because you know everything happened. But if your mindfulness is shaky, all of a sudden you become mindful, and when you are awakening, object gone into different shape, then you have doubts. So that indication your mindfulness is not steadfast. Next time you have to be prepared to make the mindfulness as steadfast as possible, continuous as possible, unshaken as possible, and expect the mind object to change any shape. And that is what you call a rejuvenation. How the mind become young, how the mind become adolescent. So if your mind is in a rut or in a stereotype, it is so always it is challenging, because that you are going to re-establish your ego, you are going to re-establish your conceit, then the friction. But anyway, that is diagnostic. You can understand how my ego is now threatening, how my conceit is now blocking, how my desire is blurring it. So more and more still, if you are practicing, beneficial, quite beneficial. This is a melting pot. You see the changes on the object, it's exactly reflect changes of your mind, or changes of the moods, changing of your mental colorations, your likings and disliking. So more and more you apply, more and more you be with the object or mindful, you can't imagine the way your likings and dislikings are being reshuffled, your personality being reshuffled, and everything can happen. So it's a very good situation. So please facilitate it. Please go prepared for that. It's a pure vipassana state.
Venerable Bhante, when observing in-breath and out-breath continuously, the matter changes to a sanya perception, then dissolves into emptiness. Does the same phenomena happen in Shabda Rupa, Rasa Rupa, etc.? Do they change material perceptions and dissolve into emptiness as Buddha Maha Salayatana Sutta getting into Salayatana Nirodha with metta?
So this is the hidden story behind the Girimananda Sutta. Whenever you are training, or you are make yourself accustomed to the perception of impermanence, you see materiality, feelings, perception, volitional activities and the consciousness. And whenever you are observing impermanent, the selfless, non-self nature, eye and the visual objects, ear and the sounds, nose and the olfactory sensation, tongue and the taste, body and the touch, and the mind and the Dhamma. So once you realized feeling, perception, materiality, feeling, perception, everything is impermanent, your mind becomes more and more open. So now your meditation, you can take it out of your sitting posture, and while you are in the walking, you try to feel the physical tactile sensation at the sensitivity of your epidermis or soul. And while you are walking, intention also come into being. Now it is also introduced as a separate dimension. Earlier in the sitting, no intention, it is everything passive. Now intention you do, and objects also changing not only at the nostril level, it is at the right leg, left leg. And eyes are open, the wind movements are there. If you are doing outside, walking it is very dramatic, then you can have sounds also. Then you find very difficult to keep the track with the left leg and right leg, because distractions are from the hearing, seeing, touching, everywhere. But the good part of the story is the impact. The touch is more profound, more gross than the touch of the air. So you are fighting with all kind of thing. So whenever the mindfulness come up to a maturity, you see this exactly the point where the earth come and touch with the soul, or soul come and touch with the earth. You feel hardness, stiffness, tension, movements. Likewise, the light rays come and hit you on your sensitivity of your eye. Whenever they become avenued, come face to face, that is also the feelings are going to happen, perceptions are there, volitional activities are there. Even though the faculty change, the things happen in exactly the same way. So the bodily tactile sensation, if you are skillful and mastered, then you can apply the same thing to the sensitivity of your eye to the light rays, sensitivity of your eardrum to the sounds. So this impact, whenever it is happening in exactly the same way. So therefore, from sitting to walking, or impermanent notion to the non-self notion, you are not limited to the sitting posture. Let other things also come in, one by one. You are increasing the number of variables, and once you got the principle with one particular faculty, it is applicable everywhere. And that is how you bring the mindfulness into the day-to-day activities, bring the mindfulness to your normal day after the meditation center, normal mindfulness to the multitasking. So this is how it is diversifying. So at the beginning you are given the most conducive condition, all the other variable fixed. Be mindful with one particular thing. Later, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, everything come into being. This is somewhat similar the way the Buddha presented the four foundation of mindfulness. You start with the body, and then feelings, and then mental objects, and then the rest of the thing. Seeing, hearing, touching, and all the kind of thing. So the most important thing, critical thing is, be familiar, be master with the bodily tactile sensation, and then inferential knowledge based upon that is nothing to worry. It is in the system. It is every human being have this endowment. Only thing is you have to be master, be familiar, be ready with the bodily tactile sensation. Others will come as and when the time permits. So therefore, it's a natural process. But the most important thing is to introducing the mindfulness in an unintentional sitting posture. But this is the theoretical presentation. In me as a person, I came to know the mindfulness while only in walking meditation. I had no chance to sit. And at that time, I can't imagine even sitting. So I try my best while walking. And then only it came all of a sudden, I am completely with myself. 100% imbibed in walking, like a puppet. And I never expected such a thing happening while I am walking in the street. And from then only introduced the sitting and the day-to-day activities. Of course, I took 9 years for this thing. You are efficient than that. And therefore, it don't take this as exactly the sequential order. This is the way theoretically it is presented. Whatever may be the soft end, get the entrance, establish it. Later, everything will come into being. In sub-commentary to the Visuddhimagga, it says, Yata pakatang vipassana biniveso pacca anupahattantenapi upayena upattapetva sammasitabba. Enter into the scene by the most desirable point, soft end, and later, when and where the situation permits, learn the other relationships, other strands, other connections. So that is, it's a matter of time. So therefore, many theoretical people worry, thinking that I don't have enough knowledge, I don't know the Pali, I don't know the formulas, then how can I proceed? It is not a responsibility of the yogi. If you know how to enter into, balance is in the same package. Nothing to worry. Master the kaya anupassana, balance will come accordingly.
Bhante Theruvan Saranai, how do parents relate to their children who are always finding fault with them?
I think children are correct. So therefore I take the children's side, so I have nothing to answer because parents are so misguiding children. All the teachers. So I am very happy. Last time I had a retreat for 30 children, age 70, preparing for the advanced level. And the first day, second day, it was like a mad, it is like asylum. They are talking and fighting and playing, and I don't know where to fix myself in. I ask again and again the organizers, poor fellows, please make them disciplined. When they never come to the timetable and all the kind. Third day, they somehow the other started and they gave the feedback, telling Bhante, you gave something radical for us because we are in such a rut. They are so strenuous for the games and kind of thing. And that's organizers ultimately got the written feedback and they were happy. And next time I visited, They told, not a single child now listen to their parents. Everyone says, Dhammajiva told that. He told me this way, so therefore don't come and pray interpret terms. I am just following Dhammajiva. And whole families are in chaotic. I was so happy. At least parents must learn from the children. These parents they are not meditators. They wanted them to be a civil servant or a doctor or a this and that. And I told, just be here. Try to be here and now rather than projecting this and that according to your parents and your teachers kind of thing. These people, they can't achieve, so they put their children in that place and wanted to achieve these things, but they fail through their children. It is unfair. It is unfair. They are robbing their playful time. And they have been so regimented, daily going to the classes and tuition classes. They look. You can't look here and there. You have to look directly to the blackboard, and ultimately you develop muscle pains everywhere. So I can imagine when we are going to school, hardly we spend 5 hours in the school. All the time climbing trees, jump into the river, and all the kind of things. It's full of life. And now they are so deprived of their children, the playful time. It's a coup. It's a prejudication. All the so-called educated people, all the so-called elderly people are tightening belts and nuts and bolts. Everything is being programmed. So definitely I think, and last time when I go to New Zealand, there was a visit of Dalai Lama and organized by one of my colleagues. He asked Bhante, do you have any idea to visit? Then I told, no problem, because he is a religious person. I also went there. It's a huge crowd, and in his talk he mentioned it is a natural thing now. It's a common sense. Each and every child is hating their parents. It's an accepted fact. Even though the parents are pulling wholeheartedly everything giving, but they know parents are manipulators. So therefore they hate it. And Dalai Lama told, why I am bringing this point in this big gathering is, mind you, 40 years before, the hate is mainly to the father. Now it is basically to mother. This took place for the last 40 years. So if you need not any war in the world, disharmony in the world, he asks mothers, please listen. Be careful. Be sympathetic. Be broad-minded, then you can stop the war at the house. Now the main tension is going to the mother, so be mindful. Be meditated. Whatever you do, the hatred is coming back to the children. The outcome is, young couples, they decided to not to have children. This is natural thing. So one person introduced his son to me. I also went to his wedding even as a monk. So this Bhante, he decided not to have children. So father and son is making a complaint. Then I told, I have no insight. I can't say father's side. I can't say the mother's side, the child side. Then ask that the child, what is the reason? How do you reason it out? Do you think you have the fear that the children are hating the parents? No, that is not the main reason. I can't see any benefit having children. After 20 years rigorous imprisonment, at the end the hate. And instead if you are rearing a dog, throughout that it is friendly, helping, and you have the love. So this is what it happens. So then I asked that child, you are also a child, came out of parents, So, do you think that do you hate parents? No, I love my parents. So I told, not always. If you are mature enough to in parenting, you can have lovely children. But not with the political game, not with the social, not with the economical. You have to understand the mind. So therefore, last time I took one person to Panditarama. He told Bhante, I have to go home and come back. I wish to continue meditation. Why? My daughter is going to marry. Then the Sayadaw asked, after the marriage, can you bring me the couple? But he was very busy and the place was very houseful. Then Bhante, do you have enough room for that? No, if that is the case, I will make room for you. Because I wish soon after the honeymoon, they have to take 10-day retreat. Whether meditation is good or bad, whether mindfulness is gathered or not, no problem. This is for the forthcoming children. And he told his some cousins and I don't know, some relative daughter and son, they got married and they had two children, but they are not in a meditative mood. Sayadaw one day called them and asked to come and have just a talk. They are very fearful and they are very backward. And Sayadaw after talking asked, how is the life? This is Bhante, we are very busy. There is 2 children. So no time to visit meditation centers. So ultimately pressed and told the husband to take care of the children for 10 days and the wife has to come and take 10-day retreat. I mean, it's a command. Sayadaw was a senior person, relative and well-recognized meditation master. So she came all of like imprisonment. Came and spent 10 days. Last time he told, when you go back, you have to release your husband for 10 days. Okay, it is also happened. After that 4 years, they never appeared. And after 4 years, he met in a funeral. Come here, he called, and both of them are going backward and they are very upset. Then asked, coming close, he told Bhante, excuse me, now 4 children. Sayadaw told, then I have a question. 2 children before meditation and 2 children after meditation, what is the behavioral pattern of the children before and children after? They looked each other's face and they told, the children born, came after meditation are quite docile, quite loving parents and quite natural. Then Sayadaw told, you see, I am not a person making children. What I wanted to test with you all, how is the impact of meditation to the forthcoming children. It's a well-proven thing. Sri Lanka is the first country did some mindfulness training for the pregnant woman. And results are now, publicized, and you can read it, the impact of mindfulness for the pregnant mothers. So instead you see, unless otherwise you introduce this kind of a radical thing for such a burning question, what are the things in the world at large we are teaching to the pregnant woman? Such a golden way out is there. Everyone consider mindfulness is transcendental. Mindfulness is only for Nibbana. And it is not for the household life. So therefore they think mindfulness is something phobia. Something allergic for household people. So I can imagine who Pandita Sayadaw being such a traditional person, he wanted to test mindfulness with the household people and see how much the effect. It is day by day it is happening, so therefore expect that each and every child is hating their parents. That is because parents are not qualified parents. If you wish to be a qualified parents, you have duties to your mindfulness. If you are dutiful to that, your children will be beautiful. This is what it happened in the early life. People very religious, and they tolerate whatever the reaction of the parent, the children. Ultimately, children understand when they become mature how much our parents has undergone the difficulties due to us. So therefore, more and more they are mature, they respect their children, and same tradition goes down. But now it is not the case. It is not the case. Very little relationship with the parents and the children, and everything happened but different artificial ways. Hatred develops. So therefore, don't think that mindfulness is only transcendental, only for the heaven and only for the Nibbana. It's very related with our day-to-day life, and therefore more responsibilities, according to my calculation, is for the parents. That is the one reason that I hesitated my marriage. And in future also, I think I don't have any plan to marry. Because I am reiterating it, reification it, reconfirming it. You are not qualified. Qualified to do it. If you do it, method is there. Exactly the method is there, still the mindfulness, and interpret the mindfulness into the day-to-day life. Of course it is therapeutic. There's a profound part as far as the prevention. The therapeutic part, you see the impact, see how much the no answer for this question. But mindfulness is a panacea for day-to-day life and as well as. So therefore, be mindful and mind your own business. Don't put the blame upon the children.
Venerable Bhante, is there relationship between mindful and memory? And the second question is, this question my son asked me when he was 12 years. He asked whether caterpillar and butterfly has one soul or two. I explained him about metamorphosis and said one soul. But now he is 19 years old and he still says there are two different souls. I fail to classify this, Bhante.
Now I already translated and about to publish in Sinhala about the different facets of mindfulness. Is written by Venerable Analayo in his second part of the Satipatthana. In this case, he really discussed about the memory and the mindfulness. In the Anguttara Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha says, define the mindfulness, Chirakatampi, Chirabhasitampi, Sarita, Anusarita. Whatever you talk, what you did, clearly you can remember. That is one quality of the mindfulness. So he analyzed it. Satipatthana mindfulness, be aware in the full here and now, as well as the remembering capacity. He says two facets. In Satipatthana Sutta, you forget about anything, try to be here and now. But your memory become very vivid, very sensitive. It become very amplified if you are fully aware of something. And you can remember very easily, and that is how you can see the past lives and everything happen. So therefore the Buddha has given a fair weight onto the remembering capacity of the mindfulness. So that is why the children, if they are mindful, they can by heart very easily, and they develop what you call the photostat memory. They by just looking at the page, they can have the format, graphic cards, the content, everything. It's like a photostat. So this is because of the absorbed into a very lucid, very clear mind, purified by the mindfulness, that is there. And the other one is that metamorphosis indicates one change into another form and change into other form. It is not one soul, it is not two souls, it is multi-souls happening moment to moment. So it is that is how metamorphosis is possible. If it is a soul, it can't change. It's permanent. evolution or metamorphosis is possible because it is then and there readjusting and reshuffling. So it is so fast moving. The Buddha verily argue the term soul is not fit into such a fast changing event. Soul is attributable something hard and fast, not changing. So therefore metamorphosis is the term we use in the science. And now the child is 90. He or she can understand 2 years by 2 years in his past life and ask the baby at the age 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, is it the same person or not? So the mother or father also can understand, am I the same person from the beginning to this thing, and if it is changing, when it happened, night or day. If the same thing, the child's requirement and the elderly person's requirements and the moods and that liking and disliking completely different. So therefore, nacha so, nacha anyo, that is the way the Milinda Panya, when Nagasena mentioned, it is, you can't say yes or no, it is the same or not. So this is the what very difficult to understand with the linear mind. Linear mind is very hard and fast, stereotype, very difficult to understand. The impermanent notion is, you accommodate it, still not proved, but your mind get the capacity to accommodate it, and then keep it reserved, keep on observing, don't arrive telling and say it is a single soul, two souls or multi-souls. It's ever changing, so this is very difficult to accommodate according to the conditioning of our mind. But this is exactly what happens in the world. So only the meditators may be sympathizing with this kind of thing, other people ever arguing, ever fighting, no end to this kind of questions.
Venerable Bhante, while in sitting meditation, notice that the thumb and first finger are rubbing fast. There were times thumb and second finger were rubbing. What does this indicate? Thank you.
No, this is, you must not worry about the message or anything happen. You have to understand whether it is reality or concept. If it is, you experience the reality, why it is happening is destructive question. You can, nowhere you can go there. And keep on practicing. If it is a reality, if it's not a concept, it's ever accumulating to your experience. So keep on observing. Many facets are there. Many shapes and manners are there. Each and every one make you enriched rather than end up with more and more doubts. Leading with a doubtful life is a horrible thing. Consider them as information for your feasibility study. Keep on accumulating, decision will come naturally.
Venerable Bhante, could you please explain a little on the difference between left and right brain? Is it correct to say more we inherited from previous births are stored in the right brain? Thank you.
There is no such experimental evidences. It says right brain is holistic, aesthetic, ready to accept and accommodate anything. Left brain is very rational, argumenting, domineering, never allow right brain to come up. So therefore your right brain is factory fresh, even at the death. And the politicians, both the lobes are factory fresh. They never use it. So if you wish to go, a lot of books for the last 10 years, many things happened because pioneering person is Richard Davidson. He is the first person did experimenting with the prefrontal lobes and by accident. And after that, His Holiness Dalai Lama also put lot of inputs, and now lot of research taking place, but presently highlighted only the frontal lobes But there are some other theories, how it connected with the other parts of the brain, the reptilian part, emotional part, and it is how it manifests like that. But anyway, now many information available as to say that it is not under one's agenda. No, not a single brain under the owner's, at the owner's demand or command. They are working in a completely universal way, and there are some little bit of willpower. You can use it, and when and where you are not mindful, your whole willpower you use for the ill of the brain. You are misusing and disturbing the brain. Only in the mindfulness you are not imposing volition. That is the only healthy moment for the brain. All the other time, by your all volition, all involvement, you are distorting it, torturing it, burning it, killing it. So when and where the mindfulness sets in, no volition, no will, then the mind healing starts. So therefore mindfulness also came into very big meaning with the help of this neuroplasticity. So if you develop mindfulness, you can make use the plasticity of the brain for your benefit. Otherwise it is programmed for this pleasure principle as well as for the make more progeny and the sexual intercourse. These are the things it is happening. It is the default system. First and foremost, you have to make it neutral, and then you can make use the neuroplasticity. Now that has become, very leading research trends in America, basically in America, but luckily we have fair amount of information. So if someone is interested in, I can give a list of books, can read it and learn it, but it is not a must.
Venerable Bhante, I am practicing rising, falling of abdomen. In some sittings, I got following experience. That is, I am continuously yawning after 10 to 15 minutes of starting. This is very difficult to stop once started. What should I do to stop this?
So nothing to stop it. You can understand now mind is come to a sphere where there is lack of defilements. Defilements are the thing keep ourselves alive, active, vigilant and diligent. Whenever no defilements, you start boring. You start monotony. And that yawning is a very good sign. So last time, the same question happened when we were in Berlin. And when I am explaining, that lady told, my husband is always yawning. Never meditate. Then I told that because he married you. So what else? So usually yawning is considered as negative and lethargic and given up and all the kind of thing. But there's a good side of it when there is no defilements. When there is no agitation, the boredom happens. So for that you have to have so much of preparedness for that. Don't let it come up to the very developed state. Early signs of the yawning, you can understand mind is collected and calm into the present moment. And when that happens, only this yawning happen. If it is the case, this is progress. But you have to make use it. You have to develop second grade energy that is called Paggahita Virya. It is the boost dose of energy you must have to release. It is like when the rocket is launched, at the different stages, it is burning different rockets. While you are relaying effort only, it can complete the whole journey, otherwise not. The launching rocket is not enough. Launching rocket is just enough to push it against the gravity, but when it is dropping, the other rocket must be ready. Likewise, the Buddha says 3 rockets, the initial rockets, the launching rocket, and then the continuation and the fulfilling rocket. Arambha dhatu, Nikkama dhatu, Parakkama dhatu. This indicates a Nikkama dhatu. Now you have to understand how meditation is about to shift the paradigm, go to another sphere. For that you must have full energy to release when and where this boredom sets in. The monotony comes, and don't consider this as a bad omen, nothing to worry, nothing to get irritated. Consider this as a good sign and release more energy and try to, it is called awakening into a dream. It is like a dream state, half dream, but you are trying as if awaken into the dream. Then only the only extrasensory perception going to work. Before, in this world, you are just a slave to your senses, organs. But once you go beyond and go through this boredom and the yawning situation, you are rather released from the demand and the command of the senses, and the huge open space is available. But for that you must have the booster dose of energy.
Venerable Bhante, please explain Nyaya Patipanna, Samichi Patipanna in Sangnyanusati. Sanghanusati.
Nyaya Patipanna means that there's a method, there's a way the Buddha presented, and it is unique, it is going against the grain. So therefore you have to theoretically understand it, you have to justify it, rationalize it, and then only, even though the whole 99.999 people go along the sensuous pleasure, you go against. So learning and presenting yourself to Nyaya Patipanna and Ujju Patipanna. Samichi Patipanna means, and even then don't let the others know that you have taken a special path. Just adhere to their conventional truth. Don't be fussy, and don't think you are a one-upmanship. I am superior, I am taking the spiritual part, others beings are just the citizen Jones and they are commoners, I am the only person like that. If it is so, you are asking for trouble. So even though you are following the against the grain, this thing, don't let any signs, just behave in the normal way with the people and get the solitude whenever possible and apply into the against the grain path. So it's a very challengeful life, but you have to have a appropriate technology, not to get friction with the commoners, and but always equally not to lose so much of time for this the worldly business.
Dear Venerable Bhante, while walking meditation, my mind goes to the in-breath and out-breath. I can see it very clearly. Touching of the feet to the floor also can be feel clearly. If there is any sound or seen, they also can be observed at the same time, without disturbing. Bhante, please tell me what should I do now and what should I proceed? Every walking seems this happen.
No, it is a good sign. This is called the refinement, amplification, and therefore mind's sensitivity is increasing, but you have to understand the primary object was the one given this opportunity. So if you wish to have furtherance of the same refinement, don't lose the sight of the primary object. Don't make other endowment or gifts as a block. It is not a disturbing thing. Let them develop. Don't give the priority for this anapanasati or breath meditation. Just keep with the left leg and the right leg, and then others will follow the suit.
Venerable Bhante, for those of us who are not knowledgeable about Buddhism, could you please explain the significance of the display or posters of human skeleton or the human body in decay? Does this have something to do with the concept of impermanence?
This is not the impermanent, it is the concept of repulsivity of the body. And we have hair, body hair, head hair, body hair, nails, teeth and the skin. This is what the outermost part of the body, and that is what we are using for cosmetic industry. And by polishing them and facelifting, we are so happy. But you have to understand, the whole part, you have your whatever the sense and the coloration and everything you apply, the thickness of the layer you apply is millimicrons. And everyone look at that one. And then gauge the person, beautiful, white, yellow, long, short, everything. The Vipassana is penetrating that cosmetic layer and go to the skin and see what will happen that the beauty queen caught into the rain. Then all the cosmetic gone and you can see the skin. And imagine you remove the skin, what is inside? So Vipassana is asking you, while you have the full cosmetic and proportionate and all the kind of thing, just penetrate through angstrom, 1.5 layer of this cosmetic, and then the skin, and then the, of course it's a paraffin layer, and then the skin. And if you look at it, will you hug and kiss and dance with that kind of a de-skinned person? So if it is so, how much you are safe from this AIDS, VD, all the kind of problems. So therefore, if you can see through, if you have this idea of repulsivity, you understand we are not only facelifting ourselves, we are arousing unwanted erratic feelings and the desire to the others, because we as well as others can't see through this cosmetic. And if someone is sharp enough to see through it, you can understand what a repulsive thing. And whenever you become a corpse, or remove the skin, remove the flesh, this is what it happens. So therefore the Buddha says, for those who are always complain with this sensuous desire, sexual desire and kind of thing, have this kind of a photo, all the ways for contemplation. This is what you are, this is what your dear and near one also, like give a different perspective, more toward the repulsivity of the body. So it is not for the impermanent, not the highlighting impermanent, but the repulsivity of the body.
Venerable Bhante, in your discourse last evening, you mentioned 3 types of characters: feeling-based, perception-based and manipulative-based. My questions are: A. Which category do people who are quite insensitive, self-centered and selfish fall into? Please explain why. B. Do politicians, murderers and rapists fall into manipulative category? Please explain. C. Can the feeling category people also be egoistic as a perception category? Please explain, since musicians, artists, poets can have a high degree of ego. Thank you. May the Noble Triple Gem bless you.
This is not a completely exhausting kind of a research done, but recently I got a book, Richard Davidson wrote, Emotional Life of Your Brain. He selected 6 categories, and this is about 3, and this is to give a kind of a new challenge for you to observe the society. And of course society is multifaceted, and there are some categories. Some people are more with feelings, other people are more with the communication and earmarking, labeling, perception based. Other people are manipulators. They are editing, the face lifting, all the kind of thing. So within one person, within a day also this changes happens. So therefore you are making use in order to diagnose oneself. That means whenever the feeling arises while you are doing in-breath and out-breath, don't hate it. It is symptomatic. You have to let it happen again and again and understand when such a feeling happens, what is my personality. And again it goes into the perception without your invitation. Don't make it as an enemy. Consider it's symptomatic. What does it imply? And when you are manipulating, when you are adjusting, editing, so therefore otherwise what happens is when you are in a breathing, breath meditation, in breath and out breath, when the feeling happens, if it is a bad feeling, you hate it. You ask how to get rid of. If you have a wrong notion or wrong perception, then again you think, am I mad? How that happens? Or whenever you feel adjusting your body and changing this and that, then how can I maintain my moral integrity? Always I am changing life. So these you have to understand, some are manifestations due to due causes. It is not me. If you are not contemplative and learn how to take a symptomatic message, you assume them as me. Ultimately, when they betray you, ultimately you are the one losing. So you have to understand this is a cause and effect relationship. If you understand morning to evening, I am also changing my personality traits, other person also the same. So if I understand some mistakes I have done due to my habitual tendencies, due to my premeditated likings and disliking, or my personalities, if it is happening, I am sympathizing myself, telling, this is not I did it, it is something happened through me due to the liking and disliking. Why don't you apply same to the other person? He or she also would have done the same thing, not with an intention. So it is in turn, it going to the loving kindness, mutual understanding. So therefore, each and everything carry the message, but we are point blank, on wholesale, we hate it. Then we are losing a very valuable, juicy information. So therefore, mindfulness make everything like a gain, like a gift, like an endowment. So they become a new playthings for a child. Anything happen, you are playing it with. You are not hating, you are not expecting them. You are adapting yourself to when and where it happens. Just look at them without premeditated idea or choiceless awareness, and then you are ever accumulating, and so each and every moment become a gainful thing. And not that we are going to predict he is a feeling kind of person, so this will be going to, he will be in the future life or in future time will be like that. That is not the idea. But how to accommodate the information, and when you are accommodating it, mindfulness is ever growing, and specifically the clear comprehension, specifically the sampajanya, the clear comprehension is growing. As far as you are not reacting to this information, that is how you make these impediments as endowments.
That's all.
Yeah. So we have taken 1 hour and 10 minutes. So today also we have no chance to ask for new. You have? So wait 1 minute. We will pass the mic.
Venerable Bhante, my English is not so good.
I know, never mind.
So, the last thing you said, all this being open to everything, to be open just to everything. I don't get it together with this life all is suffering, or all life is suffering. I mean, all life is suffering means something to be. Don't let it happen, or something like that. You got it?
No. You have to repeat. I have mentioned that so everything to be open, that I understand. I mentioned that anything happen, you must be open to it. So now you are having a question with that statement. Yeah.
Exactly. So if life is, in Buddhism it said life is suffering.
Yeah.
That is very, for me it's not coming together with this statement, be open for everything.
Yeah,
I mean, I can be open for something, or what I imagine to be...
if I got the question, my answer is, these things are happening without your consent. There is something happening, only what we were doing was hating them, reacting them. Ultimately we had a distorted observation. Now for the first time you let everything come in, and to read the message once the information complete. So therefore you are not rejecting something, you are not desire for something, where as far as it is happening, unintentional, unvolitional, without any consciousness. So this is the way you open it up. So therefore it is not amounting to be accumulating. It is something happening by its own way. So far that indicates, so far you have been rejecting them. Now for the first time let in. So you are not responsible, because they are coming, they are gate crashers, they are visitors. So you non-reaction, let them to come, and then only you are going to make a decision at all. Of course, not necessary to take a decision. So therefore, whatever coming in, you are true, is a suffering. More coming in means more suffering. That is true. That is to be accepted. But reacting to part and accepting other part means you are always looking a distorted view. So let everything come in, even though it is suffering, and ultimately it will give a complete message as to who am I. Otherwise we are not ready to see who am I. We see what I wish to see, what I should have, all the kind of things. So therefore letting in is like in the open court, let the people to witness, whoever it may be. If they are independent, it is supportive to the lasting decision. I don't know whether I really got the question. So what you can do is you can write it. And tomorrow we can discuss if we have any further refinement to the question. Okay, now we are going to take time for walking meditation. 1 hour rest left, 45 minutes for walking and 15 minutes for rest, for the break. Thank you very much for the participation.